By a show of hands, how many of you do not eat meat? Thank you. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have heard that raising cattle for consumption negatively affects the environment? Okay, thank you. Globally, animal agriculture is responsible for more emissions than transportation. Direct emissions from cattle produce methane, a greenhouse gas that affects water and air quality, as well as climate change. A few years ago, when I was told I had high cholesterol, I not only learned that meat was not good for my heart, I also learned that meat production was not good for the environment. My name is Cynthia, and I share this information with you in hopes that you too will be made aware of the serious effects of animal agriculture on the environment. There is much we can do as consumers to minimize our carbon footprint. Today, I call upon you to commit to only eating beef once a week. Animal agriculture has been around for centuries, and it seems so harmless. How serious can it actually be? An article in Time magazine tells us that there may be no other single human activity that has a bigger impact on the planet than the raising of livestock. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, known as PETA, stated that globally animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gases than all the world transportation systems combined. Methane accounts for 9% of emissions in the US and 16% of the emissions produced globally. This is a figure that has been criticized by the meat industry as being way too high and by some environmentalists as being far too low. In addition, a report by the California State Senate noted that studies have shown that animal waste lagoons emit toxic airborne chemicals that can cause inflammatory, immune, irritation, and neurochemical problems in humans. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, animals on U.S. factory farms produce about 500 million tons of manure each year. With no sewage processing plants, this waste ends up in waste lagoons or it gets sprayed over fields. President Trump stated in his December 2015 campaign rally that climate change is a money-making hoax. However, we cannot deny the devastating effects we have seen just this year from climate change. It is quite the unfortunate truth. How exactly is the environment affected by greenhouse gas emissions? PETA stated that runoff from factory farms is one of the leading causes of pollution in our rivers and lakes. In addition, it takes more than 2,400 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. In the book titled Climate Change, we read that greenhouse gases trap much of the energy that the Earth radiates out towards space, and more gases equal warmer temperatures. These changes in temperature result in extreme weather events such as tropical storms and hurricanes, which have increased dramatically in the past 35 years. The Animal Agriculture Alliance, an organization that supports animal agriculture, claims that the modern U.S. beef industry has a 16% lower carbon footprint compared to beef production in the 1970s. This is simply not enough of an improvement when we consider that animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of emissions. Fortunately, there is much we can do as consumers to reduce our carbon footprint. A global shift toward a vegan diet is necessary to combat the effects of climate change. While meat production will need to change in the future, so will meat consumption. Choosing organic food is also a good option since it doesn't require fossil fuel-based fertilizer. The good news is that consumers don't have to give up meat completely. to make a difference. Poultry is a great alternative to beef. Poultry is more efficient for feed, requiring up to 5 times less feed to produce a kilogram of protein than a cow. The Animal Agriculture Alliance suggests that meatless meals will eliminate consumer choices. In reality, it will open up the endless possibilities when it comes to food alternatives that not only will benefit the environment, but our hearts and our waistlines as well. Remember that there is much we can do as consumers to make a difference. I call upon you today to only eat beef once a week. The meat industry will claim that eating less beef will also have a negative impact on climate change. The truth is that the positive effects of eating less beef will benefit the planet and our overall health. Today we discussed how raising animals for food pollutes the environment due to the greenhouse gas emissions that result from animal agriculture. Eating meat in moderation will help reduce our carbon footprint. I call upon you to only eat beef once a week. By a show of hands, how many of you are willing to commit to the challenge? Thank you.